Alright everyone, the other day Kamala Harris went on Fox News with Bret Baier, sort of walking into the lion's den supposedly, although I would point out that Bret Baier is kind of more a neocon guy than like a Trump MAGA type, so there were some hardballs there. Bret Baier did, I guess, a better job than certain interviewers. Here's the fallout from it. I would take one look at every liberal commentator, and they're saying she crushed it, congrats on winning the election, she was dazzling and beautiful and all of these things. Look at any conservative commentator, and it's train wreck mode, and she looked unhinged, couldn't answer basic questions, and was basically just went nuts the whole time. There's a more nuanced view that's more correct in the subjective sense, I think, than this sort of politically hyper-partisan sort of climate that's lending itself to the kind of commentary that you especially see online and on certain slots in the legacy media as well. And that's that Kamala has very low standards that she has to adhere to at least have an mediocre sort of showing. This was not her worst appearance. I do see some conservative commentators saying, wow, this was a bigger train wreck than anything Kamala's been involved in before. I wouldn't agree with that, but it wasn't good. She didn't do a good job. It's just that the standards for her are so low that by comparison to some of the massive gaffes that she's made, her absolute train wreck responses to journalists, etc., when the standard is a 1 out of 10, when you get a 2 out of 10, wow, that was really great. Congratulations, Kamala. No, it wasn't the worst thing that she's done. But again, the standard is simply too low. On immigration, she was effectively backed into a corner. She talks about, oh, it's time to turn the page as a nation and stuff like that, and hinting at the ageism question, which is odd, because again, legacy media, Kamala, everyone in the Biden camp, liberal commentators, every single one of them said that bringing up age as a political issue was unacceptable and wrong when Joe Biden was the candidate to be. And the second that they understood Biden would not be the candidate, all of a sudden it became about age. It got re-injected as an issue. Very, very strange, because these are the exact same people that not that many moons ago were saying that this was an unacceptable topic, not just simply a meaningless topic, but that it was actually discriminatory and unacceptable. That's because Biden was the older candidate. Now, Trump isn't going to make age an issue, although he could pull a Ronald Reagan and say, I'm not going to make a big deal about my opponent's youth and inexperience, or something like that. That would be funny, a Mondale moment. He could echo the Gipper, and he probably should have already done that, but because it would be hilarious, it would be funny, and therefore probably would go viral, and people would get a cheeky chuckle at it. He probably should. Whether he does or not, at this point, is irrelevant, I suppose, this late in the game. But all of a sudden, that's a major issue, so Kamala habitually now brings it up. We're turning the page. Like, you're a spring chicken, isn't she like 60 years old? You're not a youthful candidate. You're of roughly average age for a presidential candidate, or actually a little bit older than that, I believe. Trump just happens to be older. But when the other candidate was the older one, and clearly demented, it was unacceptable. Until the debate performance, the problem for Biden, I feel kind of sorry for him in a way, the problem for him was that it was unweatherable. His own allies began backstabbing him. It was a little like watching, Julius Caesar approaching the Senate. Oh God, I need that. Oh. Delicious. But the online commentary that I see is also heavily astroturfed. If you look at all of the DNC shill accounts and then like the wonk political class on the left, it's very funny. Seconds after the interview ends, they've all got their pre-scripted sort of bullshit that clearly they typed up beforehand and just start launching it off. They were chomping at the bit to do that, and I've noticed something. When Kamala does do something fucking stupid, they all jump on it, they dogpile it really quick. They're trying to create an artificial, like an expansive echo chamber, partially for algorithmic purposes, partially for clout-seeking purposes, and partially to circle the wagons. If she does something innocuous, like she has a normal one that day, then there's not much that they say. Instead, they relapse into simply making TDS posts usually because, again, the algorithm rewards them for doing so. When you're getting, a paycheck from the DNC, you know what side of the bread that it's buttered on. And so, you have to do your job, if you can really call it a job at all. I'd say this is like a 2 out of 10 interview. But by comparison to some of the crazy shit that she's done and said, by definition, it's going to seem better. But it was not good. I do not expect it to win her any more from new fans. If anything, I think she takes a slight hit from it. But she does every single... the betting markets, by the way, that tend to outflank the polls, they reflect this. Numerous individuals that are sort of more on the unbiased analytical side, and they're just in it for the odds making, largely seem to agree with that betting market change. I don't know exactly what they're at. Let me look that up really quick. Presidential betting odds. We'll do this real quick. And there's a bunch of different places that do this. We'll just use the RCP page. Yeah, Trump got a spike from this. Not a huge one yet, but again, over the next couple of days, the fallout may become more intense. Kamala is riding at a long-term mean, or just above it. Trump, meanwhile, has been steadily gaining in the betting markets. You can see the inversion of those two lines is pretty incredible, actually. I mean, Trump is now in the mid-50s, or upper 50s, actually, sorry, 57.6 to 41.3. I think that a lot of people, the one thing buoying her in the betting odds, I think, is people's suspicion that there will be ballot shenanigans more than anything else. Not because of her own personal acumen. That's about all. Peace out.